Hi. I just watched from pretty much the entire trial of the Terry Sanderson versus Gwyneth Paltrow with regards to a skiing accident in Park City, Utah. And the verdict just came in, and Gwyneth Paltrow won 100% of the damages she was claiming, which was $1. And Terry Sanderson, who is a 76-year-old optometrist for the Veterans Administration, had 100% of liability apportioned against him, so he got nothing. And the real losers, from what I could see and what the people my heart went out to, were Terry Sanderson's, the plaintiff's lawyers. They did a fantastic job. They struggled through. But the thing I wanted to point out from a legal point of view is that Gwyneth Paltrow spent a great deal of money on computer-generated animations of her story of what happened in the accident. When I was in law school, in second-year law school, I did a project doing all the research on the law on computer-generated animations as their admissibility as evidence. And the conclusion that I came to is that they should not be admitted as evidence except as part of an expert's report, because a computer-generated animation involves really thousands of assumptions. And what all experts have to do who give evidence at trial, there's a special kind of witness because they don't have to have direct knowledge of what's going on. They can just have additional scientific knowledge. But the problem with computer-generated animation is that in every decision in the coding process is dependent on an assumption. Who was standing where? How did what was the topography of the mountain? How people moved? So Gwyneth Paltrow's version of events was that Terry Sanderson slid up behind her with his both skis between her legs and knocked them both over, and somehow she ended up on top. She wasn't injured at all, but he was injured very gravely. He broke 4 ribs. 2 of them were completely separated, and he sustained a mild traumatic brain injury, a concussion, which is dogging him to this day. So his version of events was that he was skiing where he should be on the slope, and she was out of control and came up behind him, screamed as she approached him, and slammed into him and knocked him to the ground. And the force of her knocking him to the ground and landing on top of him, they both agreed that in the end she landed on top of him. But she claims that he hit her in the back and knocked her over, and somehow she ended up on top of him. So it was, so basically the jury came back very fast. I think they were only out for 8 minutes or something like that. But the lawyer for Gwyneth Paltrow was repeatedly allowed, I noticed, to call the computer-generated animation, which is really just a cartoon, like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, but he repeatedly referred to it as the video, and it kind of looked like a video. It was where the skiers looked very humanistic. So my takeaway from watching this trial and seeing the conclusion is that I was right. I won a prize for my that project, the admissibility of computer-generated animation, back in 1990. I won a prize for the project, and I got, I think, 95% on it. But I was very, very worried that this evidence was going to be allowed in because it is more prejudicial than probative. And let's face it, Gwyneth Paltrow is in the entertainment business, and computer-generated animation, like Avatar, and like I said, Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, is part of her business. But that's not the truth. And there was a single witness to the actual collision, and that was a skiing buddy of Terry Sanderson, the plaintiff. And he said there was no question. He actually witnessed, he was the only eyewitness. He saw Gwyneth Paltrow scream and ran into the back of Terry Sanderson and knock him to the ground. And Gwyneth Paltrow was quite a bit bigger than Terry Sanderson. He's only 5'5" and she's 5'10". But even at 5'10", the ergonomic forces of her slamming into him when they were both moving and her landing on top of him were quite substantial. And as I said, the broken ribs told the whole story. So I was very alarmed at this trial, and the outcome, I believe, should be appealable. I don't think, I was very concerned when the judge allowed the admission of this computer-generated animation as if it was a video or something, which it definitely was not. It's the made-up story in some computer geek's head about relaying Gwyneth Paltrow's story. But the downside for Gwyneth Paltrow is I estimate that she spent $100,000 to $150,000 on the animation, or a great deal of money, maybe even $300,000. And all Terry Sanderson was seeking in damages was $300,000. And then on top of that, she would have had to pay lawyers' fees. And as I understand it, in Utah, you don't get, if the losing party does not pay the winner's lawyers' fees unless they operated in bad faith, which is not the case in British Columbia. Or it wasn't when I was practicing anyways. So I just thought people might find that interesting. It's a new trend in legal, a new legal development is this use of computer-generated animations, which I think is, the law has been expanded in a way that is not good for the advancement of justice and the fact-finding mission of a jury. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you. Have a nice weekend, everybody.